What's up guys, Eric here, Team Eccentric, bringing you guys another dual commentary video. This time it's Connor on the left playing his ORCUST, I believe, and Joe on the right playing his ninjas. This matchup's kind of weird. It's definitely an interesting matchup to watch just because of the way that both decks function. It's very different. You can see kind of how Yu-Gi-Oh! Has changed just with ninjas being kind of an older legacy deck and ORCUST being the new meta, essentially. So I believe Connor starts and he normal summons the Neo Space Connector, and he attempts its effect, which allows him to special summon a Neo-Spacian from the deck. Obviously, he's going for the Aqua Dolphin, and then he's going to attempt Aqua Dolphin's effect, which allows him to discard a card for cost, and then look at his opponent's hand and discard a monster that's lower than any of the attack points of the monster of any of the monsters he controls, and then he would the person who got the card discarded from their hand takes 500 points of damage. So now he discards one of, I believe it looks like a ninja monster. And then Connor goes for the Link 2, which is basically how ORCUSTs start their plays. Goes into the Nightmare monster, and then he links into the Nightmare Mermaid, and then Mermaid's effect on summon allows him to discard for cost and then special summon a Nightmare monster from the deck. So this is essentially how ORCUST get a lot of their combos rolling. He special summons ORCUST Nightmare, which is actually a pretty decent card just in and of itself, just regarding like the ORCUST strategy. But so Joe decides to scoop it up just off of that. I believe actually it looks like he could discard a Ghost Ogre out of Joe's hand, which is actually probably thing. I honestly would have activated the Ghost Ogre if that's what that was. I couldn't really tell what that is, but if that's what that was, I would have activated the Ghost Ogre, because then Connor would have been down a card. He wouldn't have been able to just link right into a Nightmare monster. But so they're going into game 2, and I believe Joe's going to start this time just because of the way that ninjas function. They're a very trap-centric, disruptive kind of strategy. So so Joe's going to go first. So he activates the ninjutsu village, the field spell, and then he activates the one that allows you to just basically send all ninjutsu cards on the field to the graveyard and then draw 2. This is in a way it can be a big, it can be a +1 depending on how many ninjutsu art cards you control. And now Joe is normal. He normal summons Yellow Ninja, which allows him to special summon another ninja from the hand. So he special summons Hanzo. And then he basically uses the effect of Hanzo, which I believe allows him to search a ninja monster when it's special summoned. So he searches out the big guy. I can't remember the guy's name. It's a level 8 monster, but I know that it's it has something to do where if it's summoned or switched to defense or something like that, you can target 2 ninjas in your grave, special summon them. So then he links 2. And he goes right into Ninja Master Saizo, which is actually a really strong, kind of an impressive card, to be honest. If it points to a ninja monster, you can it can't be targeted or something like that by attacks or something like that. So Joe activates the Ninjutsu Art Notebook, which allows him to discard and add or set something. So he sets another one of the draw spell. And Connor cuts because it is a draw card, so obviously. And he activates, so he activates it, and then he sends the Ninjutsu Art Notebook, and then draws 2 more cards. And ninjas actually do have a bit of draw power just off, just with that card. It's kind of, in a way, it kind of reminds me of True Draco, like a very old version of True Draco, where you just send your cards to the graveyard and just keep drawing and keep recycling cards and just keep, forcing your way through your deck so that you can just get as many disruptive trap cards as possible. But now Connor starts with the Neo Space Connector again, starting off with this engine. This engine is really strong, but he activates the Ogre. Yep, it was a Ghost Ogre. Honestly, if I was Joe, I would have activated the Ghost Ogre in the last game. But you know, I mean, Joe's, you know, he's still kind of learning some of the interactions with a lot of the decks and things like that. You know, I mean, he's definitely a good player. He definitely knows how to play his decks. It's just a matter of getting him to respond to certain things at certain times. But I mean, he's definitely, you know, he's beaten me, he's beaten Connor before. It's not one of those things where like he can't win any games. It's just sometimes he doesn't realize some of the effects he can use, which happens. I mean, I've done that before too. So then Connor activates Monster Reborn, which is just a really good extender, and he targets the Neospace connector, and then Joe actually had the Call by the Grave, which was really smart. So then Connor activates the Orchestrated Einstance, and then reveals Danger Nessie. Trying to get as many bodies on the board as possible so he can start with his Nightmare plays and start link summoning like crazy. So then Joe goes odds evens, and he discards the ORCUST. Looks like I can't tell which one that one is. But then he special summons the Nessie, links twos into the Nightmare Cerberus, and then he links again into the Nightmare Mermaid using its effect. And he discarded the Phantom Knight, which is a really strong discard just based on the fact that it has a graveyard effect. Special summons the Orcus Nightmare, links 2 again, and this time goes into the Galatea. Banishes Orcus Nightmare. And then banishes what looks like, I believe that's Harpor. Yeah, so the other one must have been the Skeleton. This one's Harpor. I'm sorry, I get confused with them a lot. You know, they all kind of look similar to me, so, you know, it's kind of tough remembering which ones are which, but I will be playing the deck soon, guys. I have a build that I'm going to be working on, so. But he banishes the Harpor, which allows him to special summon, I believe, from the deck. So yeah, he special summons, and then he links again, and this time I believe he's probably going to go into Longyearsu. Nope, that's right. He goes into the Rusty Bardich, and then I believe he uses Bardich effect, sending Phantom Knight for cost, and then he gets to set a Phantom Knight spell or trap card from his deck. So he sets Fogblade. Obviously, the rank up spell is gone, so we don't have to worry about that stupid shit anymore with Azathoth and Kali Yuga. But then he banishes the other Phantom Knight, which allows him to add another monster. So he adds another Phantom Knight. I believe that's I'm sorry, the name is escaping me right now. I haven't played with Phantom Knights in a long time. I believe that's Silent Boot. I might be wrong there, but whatever. So he banishes and then special summons the Galatea back, and then uses, I believe Galatea's effect to send back the Orcus Nightmare, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure how the deck works completely, but I'm learning. And then he sets Crescendo, which is the new counter trap from Dark Neostorm. Really, really strong. You know, I mean, Orcusts have always been kind of strong. I mean, you know, we've seen Orcust Zombies, Danger Orcust, I mean, Atlantean Orcust. We've seen all kinds of different variants of the deck, and obviously, like, oh, wow, and Connor attempts to attack with Bardich, and then he gets Storminged. That's a thing. Storming Mirror Force, that kind of hurts. But so, Connor passes turn. Joe normal summons Yellow Ninja and sets a trap, or sets a card. And then because let's see. So then Joe goes into battle phase and attempts to attack. Connor lets it go through. Remember, guys, we are timing these matches now, just to make the videos, you know, no longer than 20 minutes. You know, we don't want to take up, you know, half an hour and do half-an-hour duel videos just because somebody decided to take too long with their plays. It's just frustrating to have to edit all that, and on top of that, you know, it slows down the rendering process of me actually putting the videos together. So. And it makes things just make more sense. You know, we can say that, oh, you know, the match went into time if something happened or things like that. So it just makes things a lot easier if we time our matches. But now it's Connor's turn, and he banishes Harpor. And there's the ORCUST Nightmare. Honestly, it's actually funny. One Storming Mirror Force actually put Joe ahead in terms of, you know, like just control of the board. But now Connor links 2, and he goes into Galatea. And then Joe goes ninjutsu art of, I believe that's Shadow Stealing or something like that, I believe. So they asked me for a ruling, and so he tributes for cost and then targets the Galatea. And then Connor activates Crescendo. Basically, that trap card allows him to basically take control of one of his opponent's monsters by tributing a ninja monster for cost. Crescendo negates and obviously banishes it. So that was Connor's one way to counter that ninjutsu art, because that ninjutsu art would have really hurt Connor. It would have put him even further behind. Connor's Joe activates the Ghost Ogre on Galatea. After Connor attempts its effect. So Connor attempted effect, and then Joe Ghost Ogred it, which from the looks of it does actually do something, but then again, I mean, we are playing ORCUST here, and they do kind of function out of the grave, so it doesn't, I doubt it does too much. But then he sets Babel, and obviously Babel's a really good card. It makes all of the ORCUST monsters in the graveyard quick effects, which kind of ridiculous. You know, I mean, just literally applying, basically you just apply quick effect to every single ORCUST effect that you have, which is pretty over the top. I think that's part of the reason why the deck is so good. I mean, I guarantee that if the deck didn't have a card like Orchestrated Babel, it wouldn't be nearly as good as it is. It would still be pretty strong, just being able to, you know, function out of the graveyard, still be a really good engine, but overall it just wouldn't be as strong without Babel. Babel's definitely what I consider to be probably one of the best cards in the deck. But now it's Joe's turn. Or no, so it's Joe's turn, and then Connor activates Fogblade on Ninja Master Saizo. Joe sets 1. And I believe he... and Connor activates the Skeleton, which allows him to special summon Galatea, and then effective Galatea. I believe this is all on Joe's turn, if I'm not mistaken. So, and Connor sends something back. Sets Orchestrated, looks to be Orchestrated Return, which allows him to ditch to draw, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm still kind of like learning the ORCUST engine, you know, I mean, I've played against it before. I know essentially what the cards do. I just kind of like, you know, I gotta kind of get my player senses to really learn, you know, like exactly what cards do what in what particular scenarios. It's just kind of like learning the interactions of the deck. It is a combo-based engine, which, you know, I mean, you know, it can get pretty complicated. Not only that, again, a lot of the cards have similar artwork, so it kind of makes it a little tough. But so he banishes Orchestrated ORCUST Nightmare, sends World Wand from deck to the grave, and I believe that allows him to target something and increase its attack points by the sent monster's level, and then he banishes the World Wand, special summoning Harpor from banished. Activates the Orchestrated Return. And then he sends the Harpor to the grave to draw 2. Banishes the Harpor from the graveyard. And you can just see like how ORCUST work with the way that they cycle through and like recycle their cards and then reutilize them in the same, like in just extending their boards, and not just extending like, you know, your average deck would, you know, extend a few combos here and there. This deck does so many things. There's so many different things that you can do with so many different scenarios. It's just so strong. I see why people are playing it in basically everything, because as long as you can get 2 monsters and make a nightmare on your field, you can play the ORCUST engine in your deck. And you know, it just allows you to really put up a lot of you know, negation, a lot of disruption. You know, as long as you're playing like, you know, the Phantom Knight engine or, you know, whatever. I mean, I've seen Atlantean ORCUST combos that are ridiculous. By the way, I do intend on building that. You know, I just have to work on getting the rest of the ORCUST. I need to get Dingear soon, but now Connor attempts to attack, and then Joe activates Lost Wind on Galatea, negating its effects permanently and having its attack points. So that's the thing. So then Galatea is destroyed. One of the things that I did notice about ORCUST is it's a deck that banishes quite a bit. It sends cards to the graveyard so that you can banish them to extend your boards and make big combos and things like that. So you know, like the best thing you can do is to either keep their cards out of the graveyard or keep their cards from leaving the graveyard. You know, like it's, so he banishes Crescendo, which is actually a Rhoda, by the way. He came out of Dark Neostorm. It's pretty ridiculous, but yeah, no, the deck banishes a lot. So one of the best side deck cards for it is Artifact Lancia. Literally, you Lancia as soon as they start their combos. It doesn't necessarily slow them down, but it can definitely hurt. But Connor sets 2 and passes. So now it's Joe's turn. Looking at the graveyard, he wants to see exactly what is in Connor's graveyard. That's the best thing to do, honestly, against ORCUST. You really want to pay attention to your opponent's graveyard and pay attention to what plays your opponent's making so that you can counter them in the most optimal way possible. Because that's one thing about ORCUST is they're very adaptable and they're very like malleable to whatever situation you put them in. You can put them in a very tough you know, situation, and it can still end up bad for you. But so Joe activates a trap card, and I believe it allows him to tribute a ninja to steal an opponent's monster from the graveyard. So he steals Nessie. I believe just trying to get that big body on the board so that he can defend himself, because Saizo wouldn't last long, honestly. And not only that, you know, it allows him to defend his life points a little better. So then Connor banishes the Fogblade to special summon the Phantom Knight monster from the grave. And this is what I mean, you see, like you activate Lancia, like your opponent's basically stuck for the most part, as long as you know, time your Lancia properly. Like your opponent just doesn't really have too many places to go off of. But Connor activates Foolish Burial. Another good side deck card is actually Chaos Hunter. The moment they start special summoning, you just discard a card, special summon Chaos Hunter, and it literally like shuts down their whole board unless they can clear it. Which it is possible for them to clear Chaos Hunter, but like normally you'd want to do that after you know, they summon like their Nightmare Cerberus or whatever, because you don't want them to just go Nightmare Cerberus and destroy it. But now Connor did some things, special summon the ORCUST Nightmare. And he's really considering how to really get over that Nessie, because Nessie being, I believe, a 2800 defender is actually pretty good, at least to defend Joe's, you know, life points. I mean, that's one thing that ninjas can do, is they can like stall really well. Just put, you know, just disrupt and stall as much as possible. So Connor activates the return, ditches Harp Horror, draws 2, and then I believe here he normal summons another skeleton, and then he link 4s. Goes into the Boral Sword Dragon, and then Joe sets the Lost Wind because he summoned a monster from the extra deck, which allows Lost Wind to recur itself. He banishes the skeleton, Specials back the Galatea from Grave. See, that's one thing I did notice about Joe's playstyle is he plays a lot of really trolly, like slow-paced, like I'm just gonna stop everything you do kind of decks, which it's kind of funny. You know, to watch him storming Mirror Force and ORCUST board, that's hilarious to me. But kind of reveals the danger, Mothman. And he discards the Ash Blossom, special summons the Mothman, and then he gets to draw one. Oh, he didn't even draw. Connor forgetting his card effects. But he activates here, he attacks with Boral Sword. And then he attacks with Mothman. And he attacks with Galatea, and then I believe he attempts Boral Sword effect and then attacks again with Boral Sword. So I believe that's game. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's game. No, actually, Joe's still alive. Oh wow. Okay. So then Joe's gonna continue on playing. Actually, no. Yep. Nope. That's game. But yeah. So that was the match, guys. As you can see, ORCUST is just really ridiculous. Just being able to recur everything and just extend its boards through crazy banishing effect that you can just keep doing and basically keep recurring and just recycle all your cards. It's pretty ridiculous. There's a lot of different variants of ORCUST. I intend on playing either the Mermail variant or there's like this crazy warrior variant I was thinking of testing. But we'll see how that goes, guys. It just really depends. I mean, I've been really kind of focused on Mermail now that the link came out. You know, I've been testing a lot with that deck and it's been doing really well. And on top of that, I've also been trying to work on Thunder Dragons. I went back to pure Thunder Dragon. I feel like Danger Thunder, it's just not as optimal with only one copy Phantom Sky Blaster, but at the same time, I mean, like, I feel like that the Danger Thunder Dragon, Danger Thunder Guard Dragon, probably I should go back to just because the deck is still really strong. It's just a matter of, like, forcing out that turn 1 Saryuja and making sure it doesn't get negated or destroyed, so. But that's it, guys. Eric here with Team Eccentric, and I'm signing out. Rate and subscribe, leave your comments and ideas in the comments section below, and don't hesitate to give us respectful suggestions on content you want to see. Eric on behalf of the team saying take care, and Team Eccentric out.